The Suncoast Campaign for Grade Level Reading presents This Book is Cool. With your host, Beth Duda. Coming up, Miss Beth will have a special arts activity, words to put in your word bank, and a special interview with a person who thinks the book you are reading is cool.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to This Book is Cool. My name is Beth Duda, and I'm the director of the Suncoast Campaign for Grade Level Reading. Today, we are going to talk about a book that is about one of my very favorite American heroes. His name was George Washington Carver, and the book's title is Who Was George Washington Carver? We have a special guest with us today to talk to us about why this book is cool. With us today, we have Vickie Oldham, and Vickie is the president of the Sarasota African American Cultural Coalition. Hi, Vickie.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. It's so nice to have you with us today.
It's great to be here.
I've introduced you as the president of the Sarasota African American Cultural Coalition, and I've read about some of the cool things that you're doing. Can you tell us a little bit about the organization and what you're up to?
Sure. Well, we are going to move an historic Leonard Reed house out of its present location. It's now in the downtown area, and it's only 1,400 square feet. But we're going to move that to an area on the north side of town, not far from Ringling College, and we're going to open an African American arts, cultural, and history center that's going to be a dynamic place for learning and exchanging ideas. There'll be a leadership academy there, a place for mentoring of neighborhood children, of course, classes and exhibits that travel from place to place. They'll be coming to Sarasota, such as the Buck O'Neill exhibit that we had last year. As you know, or may not know, that Buck O'Neill is a hometown hero. He grew up in Newtown, and he's going to be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Wonderful. That's so exciting to have that cultural center that's going to be right in Newtown, where we can learn a lot about history and African American history. And you know, one of my very favorite American heroes is George Washington Carver. I had to do a project about him when I was in third grade, so he has always been kind of a hero of mine. He was so smart, and he invented so many different things. And a couple of years ago, I got to travel to visit one of my friends. She lives in Missouri, and I got to go to a botanical garden, and they had a life-size statue of George Washington Carver in the botanical garden, and I posed with it. Why do you think this book is cool about George Washington Carver?
Well, I like African American heroes such as Carver because they grew up at a time when, you know, Jim Crow segregation and the separateness of races were very much in play. And so people just didn't have opportunities for an education and to expand their horizons. Certainly not like today. And so he came up at a very, very rough time, right after the Civil War, when there were very, very limited opportunities. But some situations happened for him, and he was able to get that education. And, you know, my grandparents always taught me that with an education, you can soar and you can go anywhere and you can do anything. Well, George Washington Carver was able to receive a really, really great education. The people who took him in felt that it was the right thing to do, to teach him how to read and to teach him how to write. These are fundamentals that all children must learn. And he learned them at a time when most African American children did not get this opportunity.
Yes, and he had a wonderful scientific mind and a real talent with plants. And there are things that he learned about and experimented with that I think I read that he invented 300 products that can be made out of peanuts.
He is one of the few Black icons that we were taught about in school. We didn't learn too much about local African American history in this school district where I attended, but we did learn about Carver. And so definitely he was on the cutting edge as an environmentalist. It was Carver who understood that nitrogen had to be returned to that soil for other plants to grow. And it was a special technique that he used with beans. My expert new college professor friend said when he was only a youngster, say 10.
That's pretty cool.
Exactly.
So you mentioned that, he is one of the heroes that many of us learned about when we were in school. And you mentioned that you didn't learn that much about local heroes. And I have to say, it's one of the things I admire about the work that you're doing is that you're really focusing a light on our local history and our local African American history, and really making a space in Newtown where everyone will have the opportunity to learn the important roots of our community. So thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you for mentioning that. And, regarding the book, I want to say that there's a term that's used in this George Washington Carver book that I want to point out. He's described as a slave. Today there is a better term that anthropologists use, and it is enslaved instead of a slave.
I believe this book was originally written in 2015, but it's great to know that instead of calling a person a slave, it's better to say that person was enslaved. And you've taught us something today, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, when I did this project, this Newtown history project, I had to hire experts because my skills only go so far. I am great at marketing and communications and journalism. I am not an anthropologist.
Well,
but
you're
I hired
becoming
one.
You're becoming one with everything that you're doing, and you're helping all of us to have an interest in that as well. So thank you, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Wow, it was very exciting to talk to Vickie and learn about all of the activities that are happening to really bring light to the African American history of our region. We have some words for our word bank from the book, Who Was George Washington Carver? The first word is laboratory. Laboratory. A laboratory is a place that's used for scientific discovery and invention. Our next word is the word bushwhackers. Bushwhackers. Bushwhackers is a term that referred to raiders who were fighting on the Confederate side in the Civil War. Our next word is the word emancipation. Emancipation. That's the act of freeing someone from constraint or confinement. When people who were enslaved were freed, that was called emancipation. The next word for our word bank is the word homesteaders. Homesteaders, someone who lawfully claims and settles a piece of land. And our final word for our word bank is the word agriculture. Agriculture, the science and work of raising crops and farm animals. And George Washington Carver was a genius at agriculture. He discovered things about rotating crops. He also discovered many qualities that different plants and spices and flowers had. And did you know he even learned how to paint with flowers and spices? And that's going to be our activity today. Now, I have here some containers that look like paint, right? Well, wait till you hear this. It's not actually paint. All of these colors were made from plants and spices and mixing it with water. And we've got these beautiful colors. And this is something that George Washington Carver did as well. So we are going to have some fun painting. Now first, I want to show you some examples. Look at this. One of the plants that George Washington Carver did a lot of things with was a peanut. And this is a peanut painting using food and spices as our paint. Oh, here's another peanut picture. We seem to have peanuts on the brain today. And then, look at this one. Isn't that beautiful? And I can smell this painting a little bit. It smells a little bit like mustard. Now think about that. Mustard, what color are yellow paint, right? We've made yellow paint out of mustard. So I am going to emulate or try to copy a little bit this painting. So I'm going to start and I'm going to make some petals. Oh, it's such a bright yellow. Look at that. And another one. Ooh, that petal turned out a little bit bigger than the first one. I think I'll make my first one a little bit bigger to kind of even that out. And then if I look at this painting, you can see that some of the petals are yellow, but then some of them are brown. So I think I'm going to do that too, because I really like the way those two colors look together. So I'm going to take some of the brown paint. Oh, that's nice. This is really fun. And do you see this one here that's a bright kind of orange? This was made out of the spice paprika. You probably have paprika in your spice cabinet if you have one, or you could see this at the grocery store. So let's see what color our paprika makes. Nice, look at that. It's kind of an orangey brown. I really like that. So if ever you would like to make a painting but you don't have any paint, you could ask your mom or your dad if you could go in the kitchen and see if there were any spices or, I don't know, mustard that you could make some paint out of. And now, if you do this, if you create a picture using non-traditional paint, I hope you will send us a copy of it. You can take a picture of it and send it to us at connect@gradelevelreadingsuncoast.net. It was really fun to be with you today and fun to learn a lot of things from Vickie Oldham. And I hope that you will take the time to read Who Was George Washington Carver? I'm telling you, he was a genius. And I really, really think that he's one of the great American heroes. All right, my friends, great to be with you. Remember, reading is the key to succeeding. We'll see you soon.